Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. Alrighty. Well, thank you again for joining us. If you've clicked on this video, we appreciate your patronage. If you like the conversation, please like, share, and all that stuff. So we're going to talk Jags football as we always do. Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs. Watched them win the championship last night.
I was rooting for them, but why are we congratulating them?
Oh, well, I don't know. Whatever. They won. Don't you congratulate people who win? I heard that's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, close people.
We're Jaguar fans. We don't know what that's like.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't know what winning is.
Well, we did win last.
It was funny though. I did read this morning on a Reddit because I fell asleep in the game. But I read on a Reddit, some dumbass, of course, made this post, and it was like, do you think Jacksonville could beat Georgia? What do you think that the final score would be? Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me just see what people are saying here. And basically people were tearing them up. And I tend to agree. Alabama. No. They were tearing this guy up saying, look, they're in two different leagues, two different realms. You cannot, even if it's Alabama, the Jags would literally fucking destroy Alabama. If for no other reason, Alabama has 18 and 19-year-olds, 20, 21-year-olds. The Jags have 27, 28, 29, 30, 32. You put a 32-year-old man who has been playing this game for 8 or 9 years at an NFL level, and he will decimate the best college player at the opposite position, whether it's cornerback, whether it's safety, it doesn't matter. So I was happy to see that a lot of people are of the same mindset, that it's starting to be like, because I used to think, whoa, maybe they would beat us. But I guess maybe getting older in age means somewhat getting a little smarter. Just don't ask my wife that, because she'll tell you that's not true.
I would tell you that I saw a lot of those guys I wouldn't mind seeing in teal next year. Although it seems to be that we're keeping Trent Baalke, so I guess they'll have fun on other professional teams, because that's.
Well, I mean, it really depends. I don't know. I think maybe what we need to do on the next show or the show after that is just sort of not do too deep of a dive, but just maybe look at maybe the first 3 or 4 rounds and sort of say, all right, who do we like? Who's this guy? What is that guy? You know, the positions around our pick, I think, matter, because I don't think we're going to find a trade partner to trade back. So that leaves us one of the 2 top defensive ends. It really, I think, depends on what scheme we're running versus which one we choose. So that means our second pick. Well, traditionally, receivers have been gold, like in the second round, right? So that's where you would want to get one of those receivers. So first 2 rounds, defensive end, receiver. By that time, maybe some of those big Georgia boys, who I would love one of those defensive tackles. Maybe they're already gone and off the board. I don't know. I'll have to look at some mock drafts and just see. But what the experts say and what happens in the draft are always 2 different things.
Yeah, we can talk about that maybe next show. So let's start this show off by I want to get your take on, now that you've had some time to digest that win against the Colts, we keep beating the Colts at our stadium, but each time it seems strange that we do it, especially that it looked like a totally different team. So what are your thoughts on this? How did that happen?
Honestly,
yeah,
the players. I think it's Jimmy and Joe's, not X's and O's. I honestly think it was the players. We didn't see a drop pass until right before halftime. Now, granted, at that point, we saw almost like 4 in a row, and one of them was an obvious good touchdown, but we didn't see a drop pass. It was clicking. The ball was out. The line was on it. This is players. This is what happens when players say, we're going to win. Now, my question to you is, why don't we have that mentality the rest of the season?
I
Well,
honestly look, I'm gonna take the different take from you on this. I don't, yeah, I mean okay, of course it's Jimmy's and Joe's. That's part of the equation. And I may say something I've said before to you. Maybe I haven't said it on this show, but who you have creating the game plan, who you have leading the strategy, the general, so to speak, your coaches, your coordinators, they're super important. If they were not important, there would be a computer algorithm calling your plays. It wouldn't be some guy who's feeling the game momentum. And you see this when you watch games, that there's this momentum shift, and there's teams that they keep the momentum from shifting, and those are the ones that win. I'm of the mindset that, yes, there's a difference in talent sometimes, but if you have a guy who knows how to expose the weakness in whatever weakness that team has, and your guy doesn't know how to do that, you are going to probably lose unless you get turnovers by just happenstance stuff. I've said it before. Coaching matters a lot. You cannot have if you're just slightly better than the other team, you will lose if your coach goes in with a game plan that doesn't match who you're playing. If they have no concept of, the weaknesses of the team, or they don't play to your strengths, then you're going to be outmatched. And I've analogized this to a general who goes, we're going to take the low ground. Nobody takes the low ground in a battle. You take the high ground. Everybody knows this, and it's done for a reason. And
buddy, the Jags take the low ground.
That's what I'm saying. It isn't just the Jimmies and the Joes. And this is why I disagree with you. I think it is plays. I think what we saw against Indy was a totally different offense. Trevor was under center. Trevor was rolling out.
So you think
passes.
So you think Schottenheimer?
I think
didn't do this with the Jets. I mean, the Jets are just as bad as us, and I can tell you, if we put up roster to roster, and we just look at the roster, most people would probably say, well, the Jags should win this game. Just roster to roster.
The Jets?
No, the Jags should win if we're only looking at roster.
You're talking about playing the Jets.
Playing the Jets, because we got the same generals. We've had the same generals since Urban Meyer.
We lost to the Jets, though.
So why did we lose to the Jets? It's the same offense. We were doing the same things.
The scheme. That's why you're proving my point. I'm telling you the scheme we saw, and here's the thing. I think it was 3 weeks ago, whatever the game it was, maybe it was the Texans. The first game after Urban Meyer was released, the first quarter of that game, we actually looked like a decent offense. And we were doing the same things that we were doing the whole game against Indianapolis in that first quarter, which is to say we were running a typical pro style offense. We had Trevor under center. We did a couple different bootlegs. Look, we are a running team. That's what we are. Even without James Robinson, our offensive line is decent in opening up holes.
So then why didn't we continue that pro style offense?
That's the question. That's the question that I've got. But I'd like to go through and look at that game and see how many RPOs we ran. What, 2?
You know what? Go ahead, because I guarantee you, while you're counting the RPOs, count the drops.
Well, but that's the players. That's the Jimmies and Joes that you're talking
But
about.
that's what I'm saying.
But
I'm saying
look at
I'm
the
saying that-
plays. Look at the plays where the drops were. Notice
Look,
that the drops were actually downfield this time.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy overall with the coaching staff, even the current coaching staff. While I'm fine with them giving an interview, I wouldn't bring any of them back. And that includes Warhol, who's been our offensive line coach for 3 years. And we've had suspect tackles. Or Andrew Norwell, who we paid all this money to, who's played decent in 1 year, but hasn't played very well in 3 other years.
Right.
So it's like, okay, but yet you want to keep bringing these people back. I understand what you're saying, and coaching and philosophy and scheme, it all matters. It does. Every little bit matters. This is the NFL. An inch one way, an inch the other way, you win or you lose. Okay, we get that. But typically, when you see something working, like you pointed out, they don't stop it. They come in and they say, that's our game plan, unless the players stop it. So if the offensive line, if Andrew Norwell decides he's having a shit game, are you going to keep doing 7-step drops when he's getting his butt whooped? No, you're going to go to 3-step drops or something quick. And that's why I think it is. I understand that both matter, but it is Jimmy and Joe's. And I think the mentality of the players on Sunday was, we are not losing this game.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't understand why you wouldn't have that mentality when it matters, and
Now that's what I don't understand. Because they all matter, right?
See, but that's the thing. I saw a different scheme. I saw a different formation. I saw different plays being called, and you saw momentum build, and then you saw people who are good, decent, enough to be on an NFL field with confidence. And that's all that makes you play better. And then like the same thing. So Frank Wright, he deserves some criticism because Jonathan Taylor is their bread and butter, and yet they came out throwing. So they didn't play to their strength. And what we did was we have not been playing to our strength. People have been critical of this coaching staff all year because we had one of the best weapons in James Robinson, and we refused to use him in that way. And we were doing something totally different. My point is, we were, I don't know why we were this way all year. We were putting a square peg in a round hole all year, and we're confused. It isn't a question of why it didn't work. It's a question of why it ever worked in any of those games to me. And that was probably the players that they, for whatever reason, you can have a play where, and me and you've watched games before where I said, I don't like that play call, but they executed it and they succeeded. Or there are plays where it's like, that was a good play call, but it wasn't executed. I think you can have them different. You can have it both ways. So you can have it a scenario where you have a crap game plan and you can still look decent because for whatever reason, maybe the matchups favor you, momentum builds because of something that breaks your way, there's confidence, and the players play well. And even if your generals are sending them out with a stupid game plan, you can still have a formidable effort. The reason why we are as bad as we are this year is top-down trash. They've gone into this season absolutely with the wrong game plan. Now, the question is, in my mind, this is just my opinion, why did they have that game plan? Why did it take so long to change the game plan? And to my mind, there's no question that what we saw against Indianapolis was a roster, a more accurate example of what the roster talent is, because the game plan matched it matched the talent. It matched Trevor specifically. They got Trevor moving, this sort of thing. We can leave it there, but that's my opinion.
And I will disagree. I think what we saw was a typical game plan that has probably been several plays have probably been in there almost every game. And I saw players execute it. I saw players want it. I saw players go get it. That's what I saw. Now, I think that's a perfect segue into our next little issue, which would be coaching hires. So why don't we start with Darrell Bevell? Since he's the guy who has been responsible almost all year for putting in what you would call a shitty game plan and not favoring our offensive players. I would say that they probably have had it, and that there was some Urban Meyer BS going on with James Robinson early on when he was getting benched or not playing as much. I'll give you that. Okay, so I'm not going to hold you accountable for that. So would you give Darrell Bevell a shot, or did he do enough? Did he do enough to be the head coach next year?
Not of our team, but if I was another team, I might still consider Bevell if I didn't have other options that were better. I don't, considering his record as on other teams as an offensive coordinator, I still don't have a negative view of Bevell, only because I look at this season as an incomplete, because I don't know, and you mentioned this, I don't know what stench, how much taint Urban brought that just wrecked everything. So I don't know how much blame I can properly put on Bevell, but that being the case, I cannot honestly then say he gets a passing grade, to where this is a scenario where you're considering hiring him. So I can't give him a passing grade to hire him. And so I would say, no, he's got to go find an offensive coordinator job in the league and get a fresh start. It's very similar to Trent Baalke. I think the way this season ended, and it may, and it could be entirely Urban's fault. Baalke and Bevell need to go. We need a fresh start. That is the only thing that makes sense for this organization.
I agree on you. I agree with you on Darrell Bevell. I hold Bevell responsible for everything after Urban Meyer. So everything after Urban Meyer, as you alluded to, game plans, all of that, that's all on him. And basically, based on those last 6 games, dude, you didn't do anything. It's not like all of a sudden the plays were called and the players were like, oh, I like this play. Oh, this play's for me. I can do this. I can get this done, and then go out there and execute.
Yeah.
So
well, he also had the COVID game too.
Well,
a bunch of people had COVID, so
the whole league had COVID. All of America has COVID. The world has COVID. Everybody's getting vaccinated now. COVID's going to end tomorrow. It's all gravy, right? So, but everybody had that. So I'm not giving them a pass on that. It's for that reason why I'm okay with them interviewing him, but no way in hell should we bring that dude back.
No, I mean, you have to interview him, but you have to let him go.
But I think the entire staff needs to go. I agree the GM needs to go. I would even be inclined as to fire scouts. Like I said, I would completely burn it down, and I'd bring in a priest to come in, Hail Mary, Our Fathers,
Who's your priest? Who are you bringing in? Who's the guy that's going to come in and clean this place up?
Oh, well, at first it would actually be a Catholic priest to come in and get the bad juju bad spirits out. Then I think
Then who would you hire?
oh, I like Doug Peterson. And
Okay.
and the reason why is because last year I wanted Bieniemy, because I want a coach from Andy Reid's tree, because they seem to do very, very well. Doug Peterson is from that tree. So I would like Doug Peterson. I follow that up with Caldwell. I would give consideration to Dallas's offensive coordinator. I'm a bit surprised we didn't interview or not interviewing the Bills defensive or offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. There's some other guys I would be okay with. I think the only two people that I absolutely would not want would be Bill O'Brien. And the minute I saw that Balky was the guy who was like, we need to interview him, I'm like, no, no, sorry, I don't care. What he did in Houston, I mean, he literally destroyed Houston's roster. Now that you can say, well, that's a GM move. Well, it still doesn't matter. He was in charge. So, and that was all on him. And I put that on him. And then the next guy who I absolutely do not want at this point, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and I'm cool. If you think I'm wrong, put it in the comments. Byron Leftwich.
That's most people are given a passing grade somewhat to Byron. Here's what I'll do. I'll just sort of give you my take on the way I'm looking at it. I think Peterson. I do have Peterson as my number one, but right behind him, I like Brian Flores, who got released by the Dolphins.
Really? Over Caldwell?
Over Caldwell, because Caldwell, I like Caldwell. And Caldwell will be third on my list. So Peterson, Flores, Caldwell. And the reason why I put Flores over Caldwell is he's just got out of it, whereas Caldwell's been on the sideline for a while. I like the idea of taking this guy who he's obviously dealt with some sort of dysfunction because only a dysfunctional place would release Flores in my mind. Because obviously what we're seeing with Miami is a GM who has too much power. So maybe I'm talking myself out of it because it feels like that's what we have here as well. But I'm thinking just in terms of the coach, I think you can plug him right on in here. I would prefer more of an offensive guy, but I do think that I'm not so strong on having to have an offensive head coach. I lean that direction, but there's no reason why a defensive head coach can't get a really good offensive coordinator to come along. So it'd be Caldwell, and then Nate Hackett would be my fourth. Those are, to me, you got to get one of those.
I would be okay.
Guys.
I'd be okay with Nathaniel Hackett. I'd be okay. Like I said, I think Keelan Moore, I don't know a ton about him. Maybe he hasn't had enough time to really cut his teeth yet.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Moore.
Yep.
With that. Same with Leftwich. I just think they're just too.
So Leftwich,
head coach and offensive coordinator, two different things.
Yeah, and Leftwich, how much is Tom Brady? How much is Bruce Arians? Maybe Leftwich is just sort of are you okay with this play, coach? And coach is like, yeah, that's a good play. So he's still learning, so let him learn for it. Same thing with like Keelan Moore. If we hired him, I wouldn't be upset. But I do put Leftwich on my basically do not hire list this year. Maybe next year or year after this, I'd be like, no, let's look at Leftwich.
An established team that's got everything. Like, let's just say Mike Tomlin retired, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are this like rock solid. They're the opposite of the Jaguars. Not, even if they have dysfunctional people, you don't even seem to hear about it half the time. So whatever they're doing it right. Maybe you can take somebody who's fresh, cutting their teeth, and plug them in that environment and have success with like Kellen Moore or Leftwich or something like that.
Yeah, but it would be
us.
hard.
We need stability. We need stability.
Yeah, and I think we need a guy who's been there and done it in order to give us that stability. It just can't be Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, we don't need a guy who's actually caused the instability to bring in here. But if,
yes, and
this is the frustrating thing, and this is going to be what we do. I think this is
I
what's going
tend
to
to
frustrate
agree.
me.
Yeah, I think Khan's going to leave it up to Balky. Balky's going to bring in his dude, and basically we're going to suck for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and we're going to ruin a generational quarterback because everything around him is straight up trash. And our owner, I don't know how you become a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever the crap he is. I don't know how you're successful running a business like this. I really don't
because you
understand
can't
it.
you can't run a football team like you run a business.
I don't. This is the thing that's frustrating to me is what it says. This fact that Bill O'Brien, here's what I'm seeing. It's not that, like, where's this information coming from? That's what's scary to me. It's like they're letting us know
Ahead of time.
Yep. That's what I'm worried about.
So this is why we tell all the Jags fans out there, Jags fans, season ticket holders, whatever, don't renew.
Yeah.
Cancel.
No,
cancel. Tell Shad, send him an email.
I hope they all do.
Keep the clown emojis rolling. Target him, target Tony Khan, and let them know that no, this is not acceptable. This isn't who we want. We are the consumer. We will take our money and we will go elsewhere. I hope
every fan who's been there from the start calls that office if they do this and says, no,
I'm done.
No, I'm done. I've been in this crap since the very beginning and I'm done. And if everybody does that, maybe, I don't know. I really don't understand how, and what bothers me about it is the fact that it appears like I'm worried that they're chumming the waters to sort of get us prepared for what's inevitable,
or what's going to happen, right?
Which makes me wonder what the whole process is about, because that tells me, because has O'Brien been, and maybe I should have looked this up before we did the show, has he been interviewed yet?
No, I don't think so.
Right there, that tells me the whole process is a sham. Think about that. Why did you interview Peterson? Why did you interview Caldwell? Why are you scheduling interviews with Hackett and Leftwich? Because it seems to me you've made your mind up. And this is exactly the Jaguar move. This is what Khan did last offseason. He made his mind up with Urban. Anybody else, and I don't remember who he interviewed. When he hired Urban, I knew. You already knew you were hiring Urban. You had to interview people to make it seem like you were making this decision between candidates.
Well, but okay, and I agree, but before I get upset, I'll get upset when they hire Bill O'Brien. Until then, and I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt, because I actually agree that that's exactly what it sounds like they're doing. It is the Jaguar way to go out and get some other screw up to come in here with these screw ups so that we could screw up more. That's the Jaguar way. That's what we do. And I agree. All of that and everything you said makes sense. But before I get into a tirade, before I go out there and start burning all of my Jag shit, I'm going to wait. I really will wait.
Well,
and
the thing that bothers me,
I want to see what happens.
The thing that bothers me is that the last two games, we all of a sudden see Balky on the sidelines. I haven't seen Balky on the sidelines all year. Am I wrong in that? Do you remember see them? Do you remember see the cameras finding Trent Balky? All of a sudden, the Jaguar fan base is trying to get a message to Shad Khan, and the cameras are focused on Balky at work. For the
that ain't work. No, I mean, maybe you're looking at that completely different. Maybe they know that there is an issue between Balky and the fans, and so they're like, okay, well, this guy, look at him now, see what he's doing, or for whatever reason.
Now it's
maybe they pan to him during a conversation about the clown emoji. It's hard about the fact.
it's hard for me to hear when I'm watching the game at your doghouse exactly what's going on. Usually we're talking and watching stuff. And so I don't know what's being said. You might have a point, but from what I have picked up while I was hearing, it wasn't that. It wasn't, and I'm not saying you're not right, or yeah, you could be correct. Maybe that's because it would be a media move to do that. There's controversy. Here's the guy who's causing the or that they're upset. They want to get fired. I didn't see it that way. Like it didn't feel like that to me. And it felt like what they're doing is, I don't know how the industry works. I don't know how the business works, but this is a business. As sloppily and as terribly as it is run, it is a business, and they have connections. And I know they have contacts about who they're going to speak to and players are going to highlight and all this stuff. So I'm curious now if the network is given some sort of access to the team and the team asks for a favor. Can you show Balky? And that's coming from Khan, as if he's trying to get, this sort of sympathy for
Plausible,
Khan,
very plausible,
or
because
for
we
Balky,
didn't see any clowns. We know they were out there, but we didn't
right?
see any clowns. Why do
Right.
you think that was? Like, hey, don't show shots of people
That's what I'm
dressed as
saying.
clowns.
That's what I'm saying. And
so
the whole thing just really is the fact that I'm seeing this Bill O'Brien trash. Like how far on the list should Bill O'Brien be? He shouldn't even be on the list.
30th, maybe. I mean, if I actually had to just sit down and make a list,
I'm not sure he would on the list troubles me. The fact that they keep talking about him means something's being pushed. It's like with this industry, you'll hear stuff and you're like, oh, that means an agent has, an agent's come out and said, oh, so-and-so are interested in this guy. And that happens to be your client, right? I mean, that's how the business works. All of a sudden, it's media, it's marketing, and that's what I'm worried about. The Bill O'Brien stuff is coming out in full force and out of nowhere, which means it's coming from somewhere. That's the thing. And it's
the Jacksonville's, they call me every year asking me if I would like season tickets again. And this year, I will very unpolitely tell them that because you fired Bill O'Brien, because you kept Trent Baalke, you will not be getting any more of my money.
What are your thoughts on this? What if they did get rid of Baalke and they hired Doug Peterson as an example? Would you consider getting season tickets again? Because I was in that mindset. I was thinking, man, it might not be a bad idea to get season tickets again.
Maybe. I mean, I would actually have to sit down and talk with you about that and see what the plan would be. I mean, no offense, man, but we got it good. Like, we do. I mean, we got it good.
No,
so it's hard to give that up, and because I don't think a lot of people realize this. Some fans, they just go for 4 hours, right? But there are hardcore fans like we used to do. We would be at the stadium at 9 a.m. We wouldn't get home till almost 8 o'clock at night. That's almost a 12-hour day that we are committing to this damn team on top of money.
Yeah.
Well, only to watch us get our ass whooped over and over and over. Pathetic.
You can't replace being in the stadium, but my point is just to really discuss that possibility. It's to bring up the fact that I was actually considering it. Like it started to pop into my head as a possibility. And now I'm like, let me tell you what, if they keep Baalke and he hires O'Brien, decision made. I don't have to worry at all, because there's no way in the world I would ever consider getting tickets again, ever. Like, I mean,
I agree.
Until maybe somebody, I'm almost to the point, take them to London, man. I'm tired of hearing, I'm if they do this, I'm over it I'm almost, I feel like that now. I mean, next year, I mean, obviously, you know,
No, no. See, and that's where I think,
but it's like,
that's where I think the disconnect is. I think in years past, that's the way I was. I was pissed off at whatever they did or didn't do. And then when the season got here, I'm like, all right, give them a chance. You know, they're my team. You know, this is the stadium was the first NFL football game we've ever went to. It was the Monday night game against Pittsburgh, right? That's what's burned into my brain. That's what makes me an NFL fan. That's what makes me a Jags fan. If they keep bulky and they bring in Bill O'Brien, I would honestly like them to just move the team. Just move the team. Take it to London. I'll start paying attention to my wife's team. I'll start becoming more of a fan over there, you know.
Yeah, there's only so much a fan base can take.
Yeah.
It's like at some point, this abuse has got to stop. I mean, you can't keep doing this to people. And we're not the only ones, but it's consistent with us. And I'll bring back Flores again. I know that the Dolphins fans have to be apoplectic of the fact that here you got what seems to be, I mean, we've seen cases here for sure where a coach was kept when they shouldn't have been. Very rarely do you see a coach released when they shouldn't have been. You know, he keeps winning. You know, we don't need that here. And
I'm not big on Flores just because he's from the Bill Belichick tree, and I don't want anybody from Bill Belichick.
But look, here's the thing. He took that team, and you can tell if you watch that team's well coached. I mean, you can see it. It's a well coached team. And the thing is that what they're doing there smells of what we've got here. Because we mentioned it earlier. Greer is the GM.
Maybe it's a Florida thing.
And you can see it's like a power play. This is why what's his face is released. Flores, because he's not playing the game. He's not the political gamesman. He's not playing that gamesmanship. That game, he's about football. Belichick tree, right?
Yeah.
Evidently, there's some political games going on. And this is a guy that took Tua over Herbert. And they're going to back that, right? And this is what we're seeing, right?
Well,
like the New York Giants fans. How many New York Giants fans and how many other just general NFL fans knew Gettleman was a bad GM? How long has that been out there? A long time.
Yeah, quite.
Why do they get these jobs? Why do they keep these jobs?
Here's a scenario. What if we let go of Balky and hire Gettleman?
Well, that'd be the next story. If we got rid of Balky, that'd be what I'd be worried about, because that would be what we would do. It's just like what we're going to do with O'Brien. We're going to take somebody else's problem. Like Caldwell's won everywhere he's been. Peterson's won a Super Bowl. Those are who you hire. Those type of guys. And it makes me like, I'm to the point now where I'm like, is the rest of the league paying other teams' owners to suck just to, you know, I don't know. I don't know how it doesn't take football genius. It just takes common sense to see who doesn't know when something's broke. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be an expert. If I see a rocket crash, I don't have to be a rocket scientist to know they go up, not in circles and hit the earth. I don't need, at a certain point, garbage. You don't need, I mean, and this is the frustrating thing.
In the last 20 years, we have been taught NFL garbage quite a bit. So we know it. We're there. And I think a lot of Jags fans actually share what may end up in it, just turn into, it's already been a little bit of hatred. So now it's just going to come to, I don't care. I just don't care.
That's where we're headed. I swear if they do apathy. gonna be
it's
that.
going to turn to apathy, and they won't get any more of my money. I won't buy jerseys. I won't buy hats. I won't go to my one game a year.
I
I'm not
actually
going to
think
do
it'll
any
get
of
worse
that.
than that. I think it'll get worse than that. I think we're going to root against them because there's a thin line between love and hate, and I'm going to start feeling hate toward this organization
It's funny
and
because
Khan and all of these people if they keep treating us like this.
I think I can hate Khan without necessarily hating the players. I'll pay attention to what they do, but I'm not going to hate against them. I'll just
I'll feel sorry for them, but there's no. I mean,
I have 12 other games to watch per week.
There's things I
my
see on
TV
the
doesn't
news.
have to be turned to this. So
but there's things I see on the news, right, where it's like a tragedy happens to somebody, and you may pray or you may feel bad, but there's nothing that you can do to help them. That's how I'm going to feel about the players that come here. It's like, sorry, I guess you're getting paid to be here. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And that's all you can
Florida
say.
has a great tax benefit. That's all we got. So
you'd have been good on another team.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is our show for tonight. As we wrap this up, Frank, do you have any final thoughts or anything? No,
and hopefully it's just us venting about something that won't happen. But I'm just so worried because it just, like I said, all this information about Bill O'Brien.
Honestly, brother, look, that's the Jaguar way.
I know
it really is the Jaguar way. So, and
that's
yes,
what sucks. You get used to seeing the same old moves.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you with that. That's what sucks.
Life sucks in football land.
In Duval County.
Duval.
Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'll start maybe later when they give me a reason.
Yeah. We out.